Hi, my name's Pastor Eric, and if you listen to the Faith Over Breakfast podcast or Journey Companion Ministries podcast or the Healing the City podcast, you probably recognize my voice. And you probably recognize it as the intro to many of these, telling you all about how you can support us. We just want to say thanks for supporting us. Hope that you'll continue. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. You are listening to a podcast by Pastor Eric Deepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. If you enjoy Faith Over Breakfast, we encourage you to rate it on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. My name is Eric, and I'm pastor of the Village Church in Tucson, Arizona. And across from me, it's Andy Littleton.
Hi.
And he pastors Mission Church, also in Tucson, Arizona. We've been doing this for a while, so much so that I met someone who said, I started listening before or after you guys got good mics.
Yeah, back when you chewed on air.
Yeah, and we thought we were pretty cool with the restaurant background and all that
cool.
kind of stuff. But,
I listened to a podcast recently where they did that. They sat down to a meal, and I thought they have some kind of just filter on the mic. They have better technology because for us,
we just had a little mic in the middle,
and you heard every little.
Yeah. So we are at the moment finishing up a podcast. We just finished up on Pastor Appreciation Month and how I didn't even know it. I think you knew that it was kinda.
I knew it was, but it was a weird month in our church's life to make a big deal out of it, and it's. But we get into what makes us feel appreciated, what I think a little more generally our thoughts on thanking and appreciating and
how we try to do it.
What's meaningful to us. It might spurn some thoughts for you, probably good stuff to think about. How do I appreciate others? What makes me feel appreciated? Why is that? Right. You will have all the answers and know how to vote by the end of this podcast.
There is a little thing at the very end. I think what's cool about this particular podcast and should get you excited about Faith Over Breakfast and the concept of two pastors sitting down and you get to sit in with them is this is probably one of the more classic.
Yes.
Like what would happen if you and I, at least in the first 45 minutes, sat down to talk before we got to really what's happening in each other's lives is we might just go off on some strange topics like Pastor Appreciation Month. And
that is the point of this podcast is we are sitting down as pastors, not scripted, just having a conversation and you're welcome to join us.
Yeah.
And this is very much true to that.
Yeah, it's very
concept.
human.
Yeah.
So thanks. Enjoy. Hey, Andy, we actually having a podcast on Faith Over Breakfast.
Feels like something we probably should do.
Yeah.
We've been talking.
We know that people do listen.
Yeah.
And so we're happy about that. So.
Yeah. Thanks to those who let us know they listen.
Yeah.
Who give appreciative tokens of their of being recipients of our yapping.
Yeah. So we mentioned before on the podcast, before we got here to these mics, that it was Pastor Appreciation Month.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I did not know it was really until I saw an article that said, well, Pastor Appreciation Month was a bust again for church. And then that little tagline was for small church pastors.
Oh,
and
interesting.
And I was like, was it Pastor's Appreciation Month?
I did know.
I did not know that.
I did know it was. And the reason I know is because someone, beloved person in our church, basically said to me, thanks a lot for, and this was not being mean, but more like, thanks a lot for making it really hard to do Pastor Appreciation Month.
Oh, wow.
but that's not a quote. But it was essentially like, because things have been
hard.
Things have been hard. It felt like we can't really do anything for Pastor Appreciation Month.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing how we appreciate people and what our appreciation culture is.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Because
what is our appreciation culture?
Well, I think every church has a different kind of appreciation, and if you've ever worked like a professional job, a job in kind of that has some element of we must keep our employees have a sense of community and bonding. There's appreciation months for lots of different people, and there's awards and things that to say, hey, you're noticed. You're noticed. Yay, we love. Here's the $5 gift card to Starbucks, or here's the little plaque that says you're a great person.
I'm thinking of the hospital where my wife works, and I can't remember some of the tokens of appreciation, but some of them have been almost well, I want to be careful with assuming her feelings, but it sometimes it's felt like it would almost have been better not to receive this little coin that says thank you. That's like, what do I do with this coin?
Right.
Then
you put it next to your crystal.
Put it next to your crystal, alluding back. But I mean, but I wonder if that's true, right? Like, would it really be better not to have done anything? We rent my mom's house out, and they always send little appreciation things to let you know they're thinking of you. The management company.
Oh, okay.
And I got like a little, it was basically a stretchy, a little man that you could stretch toy.
Yeah.
And they said something like, we'll stretch ourselves thin for you. You're so amazing, or something. And I was like, all right, that's going in the trash.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and her job wins a lot of these awards, and I'm not completely sure how I feel about them, but it's a big part of the corporate world.
Yeah, it is a part of the corporate world.
And it's not so...
That's, by the way, that's never how I felt about Pastor Appreciation Month.
Well,
it's
not like for us at our church, like it's like we try, I mean, once a year we send out thank you notes, handwritten by the staff to all our volunteers with some kind of gift card. We don't do like monthly awards. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily part of our culture at the village. And I think some people would say, well, every day is appreciation day for you. You know, we appreciate you.
But sometimes if you do that, you do forget to go out of your way. Right?
Yeah.
So you guys send notes and gift cards to volunteers or any other things that are in your culture for showing appreciation?
I mean, I think we will sing you happy birthday, but you got to bring us dessert.
Yes, I've heard of this. Yeah. We sing happy birthday, but we don't have any dessert requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think if it's a huge part of our culture and people really think like they want to do it, or if they don't want to do it, their family does and it'll make them do it. So it happens a lot.
Do you so since Pastor Appreciation Month is, we would be the recipients of that. How do you feel appreciated? Like what things do make you feel appreciated, Eric?
Well, I think I really feel appreciated the more people are involved and the more connected they are in the community. And I do appreciate, though I'm not necessarily like verbally, like, I mean, I enjoy verbal compliments and things. And I need them because I'm human. Yeah. They're not the thing on the top of my list. I think I like it when people do things for me. Or do things that I'm doing. Value the things I value. But it's, it is nice. One of the cool things I think is that we open up our afterwards, after preaching, people ask questions. Yeah. And it's become more of a habit since we've gone to 2 services where people are like, thank you for preaching that sermon. So you get it right there in the moment. Yeah. And it oddly means way more to me than if after the service somebody says, thank you, and that was a good sermon. Because something about in the moment, you impacted me and we're still in this. Thank you for saying this, and this is how it impacted me. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, God's doing something right now, and they're it kind of affirms in the moment that like what we're doing and what I heard is good, and I love that. I think I like the thank you. Thank you for preaching.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you dreading the holiday season's impact on your wallet? Discover the secrets to surviving the holidays without going broke. This new free guide now available for you is not just about pinching pennies. Uncover these secrets to balance frugality with generosity. Keep Christ at the center of your celebrations and create meaningful memories, all without breaking the bank. This free guide is your ticket to a joyful, stress-free holiday season that doesn't sacrifice your financial future. Unwrap the gift of financial wisdom this Christmas. Receive your free must-read guide at AskRalphPodcast.com/guide. That's AskRalphPodcast.com/guide.
Interesting. And you're prompting thoughts for me too. I'm sure there's more for you, but I'll pitch in on those really quick because I think I didn't have an answer as I was asking you. I didn't have my own answer yet. And I think, first of all, I really relate to what you're saying of doing the things that I'm doing with me. I think that's probably one of the strongest ones for me, that if there's something like that I feel strongly we should do, when people say, I'll do that with you, I'll help with that. Even I'll lead that. Mm-hmm. That actually probably gives me a very deep sense of being appreciated. It's because it's like the leadership I'm bringing to the table is being acknowledged and received, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing, I don't always know how to respond right after sermons. That's on me. I'm working on that. How to receive feedback. Sometimes after a sermon, it's kind of like I just witnessed a car accident and I'm sort of like, what just happened there? Did all those words come out and make sense? And then somebody says, "Good job, Pastor." And I'm just like, "Thank you." But I don't really know. I'm not settled yet. But I think when people have gone out of their way to say, "Hey, the way that you've explained that has really helped me," or even if I just hear somebody say, "Well, yeah, I've really been shaped by the way you've taught this," that is actually hugely, hugely impactful and makes me feel appreciated because I think it's being listened to. To realize like, oh, you're listening to what I'm sharing here. This ties into an offline conversation we were just having, but for me, a big thing is like, when I'm giving you feedback, are you receiving it and walking in it? That makes me feel more appreciative than anything, is to see the evidence that not that you have to do it all the time. I'm not always right, but it means a ton. Yeah. And so then, any gift cards or notes, that are tied in with something, like if it feels disconnected, I'm still thankful for the note and the gift card. But if it's tied to something where I'm like, I know you're listening, I know you're participating, then those things are magnified and feel more meaningful. Yeah. I tend to show appreciation by doing two things. And I wonder if I'm thinking about like the 5 love languages, how they say like you tend to show things the way that you want to receive them. I tend to show appreciation. I will buy gifts for people randomly when I see something that I think they would love.
Yeah, I do the same.
And I probably appreciate the same, like when a gift feels like really tailor-made for me.
Yeah.
Whenever it is. And I like to write longer form, thoughtful thank yous. And they don't happen as often because it takes a while, but sometimes I'll sit down and write like 10 and give them to people who I'm like, something's really standing out. And there's probably something I appreciate about, more in-depth thought. So are there any ways that you show appreciation like that might key in a little bit?
It's hard for me because I think I appreciate all 5 of the love languages at the same.
Maybe a little less physical touch from your church members.
A good hug from a church
I'm just
member.
kidding.
Back rub, man.
I'm kidding.
I would actually
Back
say,
rub. I've never
you
given
give
you a
me
back rub.
if you give me a back rub.
Yeah.
I mean, and this one, let's just be honest. If you're a man and you give me a back rub,
There it is. There it is.
It's
Yeah.
little other appropriate and not appropriate
Yes.
things.
Maybe that's where my joke was coming
Right,
from,
right,
was
right.
acknowledging that possibility.
Sure. Yeah. But I think I tend to try to use my words to tell people how much I appreciate them.
Yeah.
And to try to be as direct as possible. Yeah, I'm actually relatively introverted, and so it's hard. Like, appreciation of people, it's like I'm not that like, hey, that kind of gregarious person that makes everybody feel welcome all the time. I'm not always good at that. But yeah, I give people random gifts all the time. And mostly men, because I mean, there's some, my wife also, she has the gift of giving, so she's always giving things to people. I don't write notes. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a note writer. So giving gifts, using my words. I do like to give people hugs.
Yeah.
In this world, it's a little like, what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
it's funny. I am very, I think if someone else is comfortable with hugs generally, I feel the same comfort with them. But if it feels like it's a moment that I'm sharing with you that I'm not really sure this is typical for you or something, I don't know, then I feel less comfortable.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to judge the nature of like, are you a hug person?
Are you a hug person? That to me, it's more like that. If you're a hug person, like, I can kind of maybe sense that. I'm like, okay, cool. This is what you do.
We have a chaplain who comes to the village a lot, and he's a military chaplain. And I like, he will go around and he doesn't handshake people.
Yeah.
Doesn't give people hugs, but he will go around to a lot of people that he knows at the village meets, and he'll just give them a fist bump, and he fist bumps everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way of, like, it's physical contact, but it's not, it eliminates all the other ones.
Yeah.
And, at first you're kind of awkward because you're like, he holds out his fist. He's like, okay, we're fist bumping. Okay. But he does it for everybody. And you're like, all right. It's just a way of camaraderie where he can do it with women. He can do it with men. It's all kind of good to go. So he's kind of developed that way of being. And I like that. I like that way of touching without touching kind of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's interesting because some people really like the public gift thingy, like the months of appreciation, and they want to be acknowledged for what they do, and they like that public acknowledgement. But I think it's not that I dislike it.
Yeah. I'm teetering on the same sort of thing because I don't dislike it. I think I appreciate it because I know it means something to the person who's doing it. If that makes sense. Like, I know that the person who's doing it has put thought into it, so therefore I appreciate that. But if I were being asked, maybe I wouldn't sign up for that, but I also don't want to take it away from them.
Right. And I think the other part is, like, I in a culture where there's lots of people doing a lot of different things, singling one person out and giving them the award.
We give trophies.
But you give the silly things. Yeah. I like silly kind of says, we're not making any comparisons here. We're just sort of we're acknowledging and being goofy. Yeah.
There's a little levity to ours that's on purpose. That it's a way of appreciating somebody, but it doesn't have to feel like, quite as monumental. Like it's, I don't know. It's supposed to be meaningful. We are noticing something that matters when we do those. But
I just finished a book called Managing Leadership Anxiety, which I think should mandatory.
Okay.
For all church planters, all pastors should read this book. It's written by a pastor. His last name is Cuss. He's an Australian guy.
A lot of cuss words.
A lot of cussing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he was talking about on his staff, like, give a ton of awards.
Yeah.
But they're really hilarious. Like, they'll get, okay, so today you get the award for, whatever, saving the day on Sunday. And they give you like 3 carrots and an onion.
Oh, nice.
Just like really crazy, goofy, like
Yeah.
you get the garden award, and or I found this like wrapper on the ground, and we'd like to acknowledge whatever you've done.
Yeah.
You emptied
Rapper
the
of the
trash.
year.
Your rapper of the year.
Yeah.
Things that are creative and goofy like that, where you're creating a culture of appreciation while saying the award's not really what matters. It's the fact that you're being acknowledged.
Yeah.
For doing things in this community that are valuable. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would for other reasons, I would recommend this book, Managing Leadership Anxiety.
Oh boy.
Just look it up. It's a really good book. But yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So, okay, where were you headed with this in the first place? This pastor appreciation month.
Well, I just,
in the very beginning, you
read
this article. Why was it a bust for other small churches?
It's interesting. His point was there wasn't a pastor appreciation month for 2,000 years almost. So get over it. That was his first point.
Okay,
it wasn't a thing, is what he was saying.
Uh-huh.
His second point was, I think, be sad about it. It does mean something. People aren't paying attention, maybe, and that's sad. And then, he had some suggestions to move on. But I just think it's interesting that I think we are really quick in general with church to look at our pastors and rate them. And I was even just talking to some people last night, and they go to a church where you and I have known the pastors and know the pastors. And they were talking about these two intern pastors who are preaching and sharing their preaching. And the guy was saying, I've even heard within sort of talk within the community of, we like this guy better than this guy's
always.
Preaching.
Always. Yeah.
That comparison.
Yeah.
Right. So we were always like, how good is the performance? How good are we? Like, so sometimes we take away the humanity of our leader and his need to be supported, cared for, and nurtured as the people who are being shepherded by them. And I think before we start rating how good the preaching is, how good all the things that we want to get from our church, we really need to humanize and care for the people up front. And I do think we need to appreciate them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that my church doesn't. I just think the reason I dislike these things, and maybe this is where I was headed, is I usually think, why this month? Why not every month? Or why me? Why not someone else? Like, why single someone out? That's my thing.
I like what you were saying about the staff earlier, the culture of appreciation. That might be my favorite thought. That it does. I actually think that one of the issues in our churches is that the pastor is as central as they are.
Yes.
I think it matters to be a pastor, but that's almost one of the things that I'm saying. I feel appreciated when other people don't view me as central and participate with me in the ministry.
Yeah.
So like something about, I don't think this is the intent of anybody who's celebrating Pastor Appreciation Month. I'm not dissing on that at all, but I'm saying somewhere in the reason that we even have that month is in this idea that the pastor is the most important person in this room. And that's part of maybe also what hurts pastors.
Yeah.
Is that they're
the most important person.
Instead of being having a role in the body that's significant and does deserve honor, but it becomes that they're the most significant person in the room.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Mark is on staff, but Mark was talking to me about how all the people are coming over to his house this week.
Yeah.
And just how he's caring for people. Well, I feel appreciated. Yes, some of that's his job, but he didn't have to do it. It's all an invitation and a discipleship thing. I'm like, I feel appreciated. Or the fact that, we threw a huge neighborhood barbecue, and one of the single guys in our church who's not in our neighborhood came over, helped, cooked, was part of the process.
Yeah.
And then when he was leaving, he had to go do some stuff. And he's like, hey, I have to leave early. Is there anything I can do before I leave to help out?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that makes you feel very
appreciated.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things,
Totally,
or,
totally.
just hearing that other people, like, they're getting together and going trick-or-treating together in the neighborhood and trying to get to know their neighbors, or, it's just those kinds of things where people are like, oh yeah, that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. Like we're part of this thing, and it's not up to you to make this happen.
Now, those in our church who typically are the most attuned to something like Pastor Appreciation Month, as I'm thinking about this, are also those kind of people.
Sure.
Which is, I think, part of why I do. It all connects for me usually is because
not a single person in my church I think knew it was Pastor Appreciation.
Yeah, probably not very. I'm guessing there's a good group in ours that didn't either, and that's fine. I also don't know when it's X fill in the blank
administrative assistant.
Yeah, there's all these
day.
roles.
Yeah, you should have that one down.
Yeah, I should. But I want us to. So this is one of the moments where I'm like, we probably do need like a lectionary or something at Mission, but because there are liturgical traditions that make sure that you pray for and speak to all of these different vocations and express their needs to God. And I actually, that's what I would prefer to move toward and include ministers in that, every year.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Something to that effect would make a lot of sense to me, to where you kind of, because my wife is just talking about how wearisome it is to be a nurse, and there is a nurse's appreciation something on the calendar, but we don't do it at church. We probably should,
right.
And I think same is true of all of our vocations. I mean, for goodness sakes, like the IT technicians out there, man, where would we be without them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think though, so thank you cards.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up, and maybe, I don't know if you did, but like if every birthday, every Christmas, I had to write thank you cards.
Right.
And I'm not good at that now.
No.
My wife's really good.
I'm not. My wife's way better at it than me. Yeah.
But there's something about saying thank you for someone going out of their way.
Yeah.
Being part of the culture.
Uh-huh.
And also, that phrase, appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
It's a very Southern phrase. Yeah. It's not something you hear a lot. But I like that. It's weird to hear it, but when people say, I appreciate you, man. Like, okay. Like, even if it's just that kind of throwaway phrase, it's a nice thing to hear.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think part of why I'm not so good at or big on thank you cards is actually it could depend entirely. Like, I'll get a thank you card every once in a while where I'll go, whoa, like this one, somebody, there was thought and intentionality, but sometimes it feels like just okay, I got the gift, here's the thank you card, like transaction, boom, boom. I'm not saying it's a bad discipline. I'm just saying there's something in me that reacts a little bit to things that are just compulsory, like I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And same can go with words. Like,
right. If
somebody comes up to me after church and says, thank you for the sermon, Pastor, and I don't feel like it's because of anything specific, or, maybe I have that same unfortunate response to it that, like, oh, you're just saying that. But if the person comes up and goes, I hadn't really thought of that before, that's really helpful, that is like, that awakens something in me where I'm like, oh, like you're responding to something specific. Or if the person, the thank you card back for the gift is like, oh, I could tell you were really thoughtful when you bought this. Like, that means so much to me. I really appreciate having you in my life. And oh my gosh, this thank you card is just, gone. There's something to when it is tied to specifics.
Yeah.
And is
right.
and this is getting way beyond Pastor Appreciation Month for me. This is just like how to express gratitude, right?
That's why we're in a podcast.
But I think that for me, I don't do it all the time, but if I do, I want it to be like, hey, I see that.
Yeah.
And that's really cool and I'm proud of you, or I'm thankful or whatever, you know? And I think there's something I probably appreciate about something also as specific as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So Pastor Appreciation Month's over, so
It's over.
This kind of doesn't matter.
This podcast, though, who knows? It'll come out sometime next week. So.
And somebody right after election, somebody's going to listen to this and go, oh, "Okay."
It wasn't what you didn't do an election.
You didn't do an election podcast.
What's
you did
that
this.
About?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who'd you vote for, Eric? Just kidding. Don't tell me.
I'm not allowed to tell you who I voted for.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to make it spicy.
I did vote.
I did too.
And
I see your sticker.
Yeah. And I mailed it in.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, just as a short, little left turn on all of this. I sat down with my kids and my wife, we tried to bring whatever we'd heard, plus reading through the stuff and talking about it. And I'll say for all four of us, it was probably one of the more nerve-wracking moments of voting that I've had in a while.
Yeah.
But we got it done, and then we decided, you know what, we're going to go out for frost to kind of want to mail these and go out for frost. So that's what we did.
Good call. Get a little gelato.
Get a little gelato and just be like, okay, this is our part, and this is over.
Yeah, we did our piece, and that's how I feel about voting. I tried to be thoughtful and did my piece, and then you open your hands and say, "Sovereign Lord, this is yours."
I would like to say, and this is not a political opinion, I did think there should be a proposition or an amendment to the Constitution, Arizona Constitution, that says there shall not be more than 6 propositions per election. Because, I don't care how much you care about the propositions. By the time you get to the last one, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care anymore. There's so many. I'm doing these right turns from one idea to the next to try to think about it. No matter how long I've thought about these, it doesn't matter.
Confirming the justices is another one that feels that if you're actually going to research these justices, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And they don't provide you any info.
No.
Yeah. So that's another one.
Right. So you have to go talk to somebody.
Right. My favorite, this will come out probably after Election Day, right? So
yes, it will be after Election
So it'll
Day.
be, this won't help anybody, but I like to touch base with somebody in the field and get their opinion. If there's, somebody, especially things like sheriff and school board, where there's actually a chance somebody who might know this person or
a little
have
bit
some
more
inside.
vocal and
And so being a little less worried about party line and more about, is this person, can you work with this person? Is this is this somebody who's actually reasonable?
Well, and it's nice because I live with someone who knows all the judges personally.
Wow, that helps.
So that was good.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, I should have just asked you.
Yeah.
Anyway, what will have been done will have been done.
Yeah.
By the time this comes out.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many conversations I've had with people where they're like, I will be so happy when the election's over.
I know.
We don't have to watch ads anymore.
Oh, dude. That's, you know what? Like the whole, that's what it's not that we want this decision. I think people are nervous about what happens. It's getting the stupid text messages to go away and the ads, like, ugh.
Yeah,
this is an evil, man. This is an evil under the sun.
The texting, is terrible.
This is so bad. Like if a candidate said, I will abolish all texting, they would have a convincing argument for me. Like, if I become president, there will never be another text message to you about political things.
Well, I feel like what should be, just make the television stations, it's mandatory for all television stations and streaming services to pay for the political ads themselves. So if they want to run them, they got to pay for them.
Sure. Whatever stops it.
Whatever stops them.
It's not going to stop. I hate it.
But I will say, I'm not going to say who, but I did vote for one person because I hated so much their opposition's ad. It was just so annoying to me that I'm like, I can't vote for you. Yeah.
You
no.
are so obnoxious.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I can't do that.
Okay. So the ads can
So the ads do. Like, the more
can actually sway.
the more ridiculous your ad is, and the more like it tries to go after the other person
Yeah.
in a way that seems
Yeah.
really wrong, I
Yeah.
will probably, if you continue to do that, I probably won't vote for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if I line up with your political views.
Yeah. There you go. Well, anyway, thank you to those who do show appreciation to us, and no matter how, just the fact that you care is ultimately.
I have to
important.
say,
And
I feel super appreciated by my church.
I do too.
So I did not care.
Yeah.
I just thought it was more funny that I didn't even know
Yeah.
that the month that I was supposed to be appreciated on
Was over.
was over.
Yeah. I also don't. I'm not stressed about those things happening during their months. I would much rather have people with me and in the trenches of doing the work all the time. That is really, at the end of the day, what makes me feel most appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so I'm not sweating what I did or didn't get during the month of October. but we appreciate all expressions of gratitude, no matter what. Even I'm going to say it. This is crazy for me. Even if you send me a thank you card where you don't write a word in it,
Just as
I'll
thank you.
still.
And you sign your name.
I'm still going to be grateful.
Make sure you sign your name, though. I don't think
It just a name, any stroke of the pen helps.
it helps.
And I receive it with a grateful heart.
Yeah. With the fact that you had to take money out of your savings account to send a
Yeah.
piece of mail in this day and age.
That's a thing. That's a thing. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
All
It's
right.
gotten so expensive to send mail.
Well, Eric,
Yeah, I think this the
That's-
ends
there you go.
of our more random and
one more
fun
Yeah, little
podcast. And I'll
little
maybe I'll
chit-chats.
put a link to the article that kicked it all off.
do it. Well, as always, you can reach out to us. You can text us now in podcast apps.
Yeah, just
you can
text
give
me.
us if you think, I appreciate you guys, but this topic was kind of lame. You could give us another one. You could. We tend
Okay.
to really appreciate
I
that.
need to-
we appreciate when you participate.
I have something to say about this appreciation. Not my church, and I'm doing hand motions right. When
Yeah.
it comes to podcasts, I am sky high when we get reviews, when people send me
Yeah.
text messages,
Oh.
when people email me and come and visit me. Like all those things, like I get super excited to know that this is something meaningful.
Here's
So,
a practical. Okay, the month is over, but you can give Eric and Andy a pastor appreciation gift by rating our podcast with 5 stars on all the platforms, by writing a positive review, and by
following
sending
us
us
on Spotify. Yeah.
follow us and send us a topic. If you do that, that will count as 7 cards and a gift.
Mm-hmm. That is 7 cards and a gift.
7 cards and a gift.
Yeah.
That's what that'll count for.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There's the exchange system.
And if
right
you
there.
email us at faithoverbreakfast@gmail.com as well, you get 8
stars.
8 stars
Wow. And a gift.
and a gift.
And thank you notes. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
It will be the equivalent of a room full of roses left for each one of us, which would be a little weird.
Yeah, okay.
Let's not.
All right. So I think we're going to end that there.
Perfect.
All right.
It's a great ending.
All right. You've been listening to Faith Over Breakfast with Pastor Eric Siepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. Please share us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.